Let's now focus on our top story tonight, the UK polls. Well, British citizens will head to polls tomorrow to vote in an early general election. The Labour Party is poised to win according to several opinion polls, and a historic mandate at that, replacing the Conservative Party that has ruled Britain since 2010. Quote, if you look at the polls, it is pretty clear that Labour at this stage are heading for an extraordinary landslide on a scale that has possibly never ever been seen in the country before. I'm not saying that. This was said by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's ministers, one of them said that. In fact, this, if possible, would be on the back of the Tories failing on several counts, including the cost of living crisis, health and immigration crises, also which loom large in the country. Now, if indeed opinion polls turn out to be right and Labour Party ends up winning by a landslide majority, the big question is, what implications will a change of the government in UK mean for UK's relations with India? Let's also understand the context. Now, this will be a shift from a Hindu Indian descent PM ruling over the very country that ruled India for nearly 2 centuries. And secondly, India is assuming geopolitical heft as well. But can now Britain ignore that? Can the Labour Party now shed its alleged anti-India sentiment? And where does India stand in Britain's global Britain aspirations? We'll decode all of those questions with our guest tonight. Meera Shankar is joining us. She's, of course, a former Indian ambassador to the United States and journey. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us. In fact, I'm being told that we're also joined by Ashok Sajjanhar as well, former ambassador. Thank you, ma'am and sir, for joining us this evening to discuss this very crucial issue. The UK goes to polls tomorrow. Now, we're speaking even as the UK faces a similar dilemma that perhaps India did about a month back, just before elections. While the BJP seemed very confident of their 400-par slogan, while in the United Kingdom, it is one of Mr. Sunak's ministers who's claimed that the Labour Party is now heading for an extraordinary win. How true is that? That's likely. How likely is that to happen in the United Kingdom? And is that a bid? Is that statement a bid to perhaps impact voter turnout? I'll take the first comments from you first, Mr. Sajjanhar, and then we'll move to Ms. Meera Shankar.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on your show. You know, democracies, as they say at times, democracy elections are like a game of cricket. It is never the end till the last ball has been bowled. And so we'll really have to wait and see. But, over the last few years that I have also been visiting the United Kingdom and a few places there. The sentiment, it's not only today or yesterday, but, the sentiment has been building up for quite some time over the last 2 years that, the Labour is coming back in a big way. And, I'm not very surprised because I think in democracies we see, irrespective of how well a particular party has done in terms of reforms, in terms of improvement, in terms of benefits to the people, there is something very strong called anti-incumbency. And this government the Tory government has been in power for the last 14 years. And 14 years is a long time. And of course, the Tories have also not done themselves any favor by changing their prime ministers so very often. There has been, it's been rather chaotic. It's been rather confusing. So I think that sends out its own message to the people. And of course, as you mentioned about whether it is immigration, it is the health, it is the economy, all these issues, is the housing, all these issues have been on the top of the agenda as far as the people are concerned. And there has been problems. The last point, Sumita, I would like to say is, the last few years have not been easy. It's not been easy for the world. They have been very challenging. First, you had the COVID-19 pandemic, then you had the Russia-Ukraine conflict. At every level, whether it is at the social level, economic level, health, geopolitical, geostrategic level, it has been a very challenging time. And the Tories have had to sort of, bear the brunt of this. So I would not be surprised if they are not able to perform all that well. and that the Labour is able to come up. There are, of course, some reports that even the Liberals or the Reform UK of Nigel Farage might even do better than the Tories. We'll really have to wait and see. But, the writing on the wall seems to be quite clear that Labour is going to be a representative of the Labour is going to be in the 10 Downing Street, not very
Right.
far from today.
Right, sir. Right, so but how do you read the remarks of one of Mr. Sunak's ministers, who basically says that that the Labour Party is all set for a historic return? How do you really read these remarks? Are these attempted at perhaps confusing voters or to impact voter turnout in some form or the other?
Yes, absolutely. I think it would, meaning if the remark has been made, which is very unusual because, otherwise normally parties would tend to go out and say that we are going to do great, we are going to do well. And, that is how you see, because that is how you motivate your own people to come out in larger numbers. But here, maybe, they are telling their own voters that don't be sort of, give up. See that Labour has such a huge lead over us, and the polls seem to suggest that Labour is 20% ahead of the Tories, if not more. And so this maybe is designed to motivate their own supporters that no party in the parliament should have such a huge majority that it is able to ride roughshod over the other parties or the concerns of the other parties. So maybe it could possibly be
Right,
that,
sir.
but that is only speculative.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Right, sir. Now, let me come to the most important question that we've been attempting to answer at this hour, and that's pertaining to the India-UK relationship. And how do you really assess that relationship over these past years, that when Tories have been in power, and given that the Labour Party is expected to see a historical sweep in these elections, how do you see that relationship evolving? Is it going to go on, from where, the Labour Party left it off? Is it not going to be a priority, or is it going to be a defining moment for India-UK relations? How do you really see that changing?
Okay, let me put it this way. I think traditionally the Tories have been good for India. We've seen the last 14 years, irrespective of who the prime ministers were. Not only Rishi Sunak, meaning he's of Indian origin, he's a Hindu, he has a better understanding of, what India is and where India is going. But even before that, whether it was David Cameron or Theresa May or, the others, Boris Johnson, first on the economic aspects, we have the UK-India FTA discussions that have been going on for some time. You would recall a few years ago when Boris Johnson had come to India, he'd said that, we'll be able to do the deal before Diwali of that year. So I think there is definitely a strong move that India, the fifth largest economy, $4 trillion economy, shortly to become a $5 trillion economy, shortly to become the third largest economy. It's a big market, and you cannot ignore it. And so you have to go there. Also, Brexit has happened in 2020. So, definitely the United Kingdom is looking at partners, at important partners where it can engage with, and possibly there could be no better partner than India at this particular juncture. So I think whether it is the Tories or it is Labour, I think on the economic aspects, definitely India would be extremely attractive for the United Kingdom, and vice versa. It is the United Kingdom also, meaning we have our exports to that market are about 30 billion. If you look at it, we have what we've been speaking about as far as Russia is concerned. We are just exporting 4 or 5
Right, so
billion.
I'm being told that we're now joined by Ambassador Meera Shankar as well. So let's get in a comment from her as well. Ambassador Shankar, we're discussing about the India-UK relationship, and if the Labour Party returns to power, as several opinion polls are stating, how will that really impact or evolve the India-UK relationship? I mean, Ambassador Shankar has been speaking about how the UK cannot really ignore India, how India India is gaining geopolitical heft. Do you agree with him? And also considering domestically conditions are not so great for the UK itself. There is a cost of living crisis, health crisis as well, and of course the immigrant illegal migration crisis as well that the country faces. So how much of a priority do you think the UK will accord to India?
Well, I think the Labour Party, by all opinion polls, is set for a landslide victory in the UK election. And they have been signaling under their new leadership that they would like to reset relations with India and that they will give it priority. Both the shadow foreign secretary from the Labour Party as well as Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, have gone out of their way to signal very clearly that they will attach priority to their relationship with India and that they will continue the free trade negotiations which had begun under the Conservative Party and perhaps give them more momentum. Of course, that remains to be seen because there are sticking points on both sides. From India's point of view, it's the movement of personnel. And from the UK's point of view, it's some of the tariffs on issues like Scotch whisky and so on. So I think these are and services. And these are issues on which negotiations will continue. But I think what's important is signaling a reset. Because in the past, the Labour Party has been seen as not very friendly to India on a range of issues. We've had concerns about some of the positions they've taken on sensitive issues in India. So this is a shift. Now, Keir Starmer has also gone out of his way to visit a Hindu temple and say that, no Hindu hate speech or hate actions will be tolerated, that his government has no tolerance for this. And even on other issues like Palestine, he's come down firmly on the side of Israel, perhaps to the chagrin of the Muslim population in the UK. So as I said, he's signaling a reset. The UK has also adopted this Indo-Pacific framework. So they are paying a little more attention to strategic issues in our region. We've had military exercises.
Absolutely.
We are looking at...
And this is what is the need of the hour, Ambassador Shankar, is what the need of the hour is for the UK as well. Let me go to Ambassador Sajjanhar now. Ambassador Sajjanhar, if you could ponder a bit upon what's the history behind Labour's anti-India stand, if you could expand a bit more on that.
I would think that, one of the most prominent reasons why the Labour has been viewed as being anti-Indian is because of their support base, because of the vote banks that they have, basically Muslim community from Mirpur, from Pakistan region, and they have been able to influence their own members of parliament to take up positions which are pro-Pakistan and anti-India. But, I would like to suggest a couple of points. Of course, the template of the United States comes to mind, which is very attractive. There is a bipartisan support for good relations with India that has been going on for the last 20 years now, 24 years to be more accurate. But I would sincerely hope that, we are seeing such a change as far as the United Kingdom is concerned. I think if there are issues, for instance, like Kashmir, that would really have moved sideways. It would have gone to the back burner, because I think there is relative peace, there is relative quiet, there's relative tranquility, there's development, particularly after August 2019, the decision that was taken by the Indian government to do away with Article 370, etc. So I don't think that that would be an issue, that would have much of traction. That is an issue that has not had traction in the world, or even, what Pakistan has been saying around. So I think looking at, going forward, this would definitely not be an issue that would be a deal breaker as far as India and the Labour Party is concerned. And as I was saying earlier, looking at India's economic heft and India's increasing global role, global positioning. India has, the way we conducted the G20 last year, the manner in which India has for the last 5-6 years
And
been
absolutely,
globally.
that no country can really ignore if it really wants to forge a significant bilateral relationship with India. Coming to you, Ambassador Shankar, what are the possible concerns that New Delhi has at the moment? What could be the possible irritants if the Labour Party is to come to power? And has the party really made serious effort in addressing those concerns, at least via its manifesto and speeches? We've seen, of course, the leaders visit temples. But in 2019, there were references to Kashmir. So is the Labour Party ready to let go of those and perhaps address some of the concerns that British Indians have?
I think, the Tory government, the previous government, the Conservative government, had refashioned UK policy towards the subcontinent, in a sense, separating the policy for India and putting it in the context of the Indo-Pacific rather than the old context of Pakistan and Kashmir. And I think that Labour is poised to continue that framework. We now have a roadmap which seeks to double trade by 2030. We have two-way trade of $40 billion almost. And UK is an important investment destination for Indian companies. For instance, Tata has bought Jaguar, and there are many other investors from India who have made significant investments in the UK, especially post-Brexit. I think the UK has been looking to strengthen its economic and strategic partnership with India. We now have a comprehensive strategic partnership. We also have a 2+2 dialogue, which is, foreign ministers and defense ministers together, which we don't have with many countries. It's only a select few with whom we have such dual dialogues, and UK is one of them. Defense cooperation has not been as robust as it could have been, but I think we are looking to step it up, and also to look at new areas of technology, including artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing. And I think one UK company has said that they plan to invest some 30,000 crores in India's project for building semiconductors in India. Let's see how soon this investment materializes. But clearly both, and then of course, green technologies. Both sides are cooperating in areas of green technology.
So lots of areas where both the countries can really converge on. They have converged on several areas like whiskey, climate, maritime security. In fact, a migration and a mobility agreement also was signed between both the countries. But speaking of FTA between the UK and India, Ambassador Sajjanhar, do you think that's going to be a priority for the party, that for the Labour Party if it comes to power? How much of a priority is it going to be for the Labour Party?
I would imagine, Sumita, that the economy is a priority for any party that comes to power. So, they will have to start looking at it very closely and take forward the discussions that have taken place so far. And particularly, as I mentioned earlier, after the Brexit in 2020, the United Kingdom has been looking around the world for attractive partners, and under the circumstances, fifth largest economy, becoming the third largest economy, and a very robust economy, and with the technology that can cooperate in. And there are a few sticking points, but I think both the sides have been working very closely on that. There might be some areas that, Labour might have a difference of opinion with the Tories who have been negotiating, but then it has also been the bureaucracy and the officialdom that has also been on board. So
That's going to be a priority for both the parties, whichever party comes to power, is what you're hinting at, Ambassador Sajjanhar. Let me get the final comments from Ambassador Shankar. Ambassador Shankar, speaking of India, do you really see the anti-colonial posturing of the Indian government? Will that prevent the Indian establishment from seizing the full range of possibilities with Britain?
I don't think so. I think India has been pragmatic, Rhetoric is at one level and relationship is at another level. And I think what will help is the fact that, you've had a great deal of political volatility in the UK. Their energies have been absorbed with Brexit, post-Brexit, COVID, Ukraine, and too many changes of prime ministers very quickly. With Labour, I think you're poised to see a more stable government because all polls indicate that they will get a landslide majority. And therefore, they might be in a position to devote more energy to the goals that both countries have outlined in the roadmap for strengthening India-UK relations till 2030.
All right, Ambassador Shankar. On that note, we'll have to wrap this up in the interest of time. Thank you very much, Ambassador Meera, Shankar, and Ambassador Sajjanhar for joining us this evening to discuss this. So whichever party comes to power tomorrow, definitely they cannot ignore India. India is the world's fastest growing economy and, of course, the most populous country. We have the demographic dividend. And both the nations can attempt to carve roles for themselves in this volatile emerging world order, because now is the moment to harness those synergies and convergences in favor of the bigger picture.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.